Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 6, text number 6. What's on the board? Well, they wrote number 7 on the board. And it's supposed to be number 6. Anyway, we'll read text number 7. Magdhasya Bale Kishnor Vidato Yati Imam Vi Jarya Grihasta Dehasya Kantati Aksa Pasya Vimasati Mugdasya Bale Kishor Vido Yati Vimsaha Yarya Grasta Dehasya Ati Akshla Pasya Vishati. Word for word. Magdhasya, a person bewildered, or not in perfect knowledge. Baye, in childhood. Kishore, in boyhood. Vidata, playing. Nati, passes. Himshati, 20 years. Jaraya, by invalidity. Grasta, Dehasya, of a person overcome. Yati, passes. Akil Pasha, without determination. Being unable to execute even material activities. Asati, another 20 years. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In the tender age of childhood, everyone is bewildered. One passes 10 years. Similarly, in boyhood, engaged in sporting and playing, one passes another 10 years. In this way, 20 years are wasted. Similarly, in old age, when one is invalid, unable to perform even material activities, one passes another 20 years wastefully. Purport. Without Krishna consciousness, one wastes 20 years in childhood in boyhood, and another 20 years in old age. When one cannot perform any material activities and is full of anxiety about what is to be done by his sons and grandsons, and how one's estate should be protected, half these years are spent in sleeping. Furthermore, one wastes another 30 years sleeping at night during the rest of his life. Thus, 70 out of 100 years are wasted by a person who does not know the aim of life and how to utilize this human form. Omarginantram dasyajanajanam stakaya chakshulintam jena tasmei shri gurave namaha. Sri Chaitanya manobhistam stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kadamayam danti swapadantikam. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasade Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So I'll read text number 6. We didn't have class yesterday, so they didn't do number 6. Text number 6. Every human being has a maximum duration of life of 100 years. But one who cannot control his senses, half those years are completely lost because at night he sleeps 12 hours, being covered by ignorance. Therefore, such a person has a lifetime of only 50 years. Purport. Lord Brahma, a human being, and an ant all live for 100 years, but their lifetime of 100 years are different from another. This world is a relative world, and its relative movement of time are different. Thus, the 100 years of Brahma are not the same as the 100 years of a human being. From Bhagavad-Gita, we understand that Brahma's daytime of 12 hours equals 4,300,000 times 1,000. Thus, the Varsha Santam, or 100 years, are relatively different according to time, person, and circumstance. As far as human beings are concerned, the calculation given here is right for the general public. Although one has a maximum of 100 years of life, by sleeping one loses 50 years. Eating, sleeping, sex life, and fear are 4 bodily necessities. But to utilize the full duration of life, a person desires to advance in spiritual consciousness must reduce these activities. That will give him an opportunity to fully utilize his lifetime. Translation once again. In the tender age of childhood, when everyone is bewildered, one passes 10 years. Similarly, in boyhood, engaged in sporting and playing, one passes another 10 years. This way, 20 years are wasted. Similarly, in old age, when one is an invalid, unable to perform even material activities, one passes another 20 years wastefully. Prahlad Maharaj is instructing his demoniac schoolmates. But he was only 5 years old. But he was instructed in the womb of his mother by Narada Muni. So he became a Mahajan, or one of the 12 Mahajans, became a great devotee before he even took birth. But his schoolmates were different. They were born in demonic families, but because they were only children, they had not been spoiled by bad association. So when Prahlad Maharaj was able to instruct them. Now this verse is referring to the time factor. Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita, Kalosmin loka sayakrit pravida da-o. Time I am, the destroyer of the worlds. And in the Brahma Samhita, it says, Agni mahi ganam ambu maradashascha kalastaratma manasati jagatchayani yasnat bhavanti vivanti yas vishanti amcha govindamari tamaha bhajami. The three worlds are composed of 9 elements: fire, earth, water, air, ether, direction, time, soul, and mind. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, for whom they originate, in whom they exist, in whom they enter at the time of the universal catalysm. So this is one of the elements, 9 elements, time, the time factor. And Chinakampanit says, for one moment of life spent cannot be regained for millions of gold coins. Therefore, what greater loss is there than time spent uselessly? So Brahma life is, everything is relative. So Brahma took birth on the lotus flower. He's the original creator. When he heard the word tapa, he understood he should do tapasya. So he meditated for 100 years. But that doesn't mean his life was finished. That 100 years was the years of the demigods, but wasn't his 100 years. So every living being has 100 years to live, but it's relative according to the body. So Brahma, he lives for 3 trillion 1140 billion years. 3 trillion 40 billion years. And so 100 years of his life was spent in tapasya. But it wasn't his full lifespan. So this 100 years says it's for the general public in Kali Yuga. Most people don't even live that to 100 years. But there's one yogi in the one sadhu in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's one sadhu, his name is Maru, and he lives to the end of Kali Yuga. So his 100 years expanded to that long length of time. And other people like Kashipu, he performed austerity for 100 years. But that wasn't the end of his life. That was the only part of his life, because his 100 years is different than other 100 years. So we see that there are certain insects that are born in the nighttime. In the daytime, when you open your door, their life is finished. You have a carpet of insects on the ground. So that's their 100 years, less than 24 hours. So this is all relative to the kind of body we have. But time factor is affecting everyone, and this is a major topic in the Bhagavad-Gita. 5 subject matters are there in the Bhagavad-Gita, and the time factor is one of them. And we know time and tide wait for no man. There was one man who was dying, and he asked the doctor, "Can you give me 4 more years? But so I can finish my business." But the doctor cannot give anyone any more time than it's destined, and they're destined to have. So, Rake Krishna, Mare Krishna, Rake Ke. Krishna wants you to die, no one can save you. If Krishna wants you to live, no one can kill you. Otherwise, it's already been destined at the time of birth that we'll have so many breaths, so many heartbeats, and that our life will be finished according to our karma. So some people die at an early age, and some people die at old age. There was one famous person in America who got murdered. He was a young man, very famous athlete. After he got murdered, the people, they talked about it for at least 10 years. They were shocked that someone who was only 20 years old could die so soon. And we see in the life of great politicians like Gandhi. Kennedy was a famous president in America. He was good looking, everyone loved him. He was so popular, but yet someone didn't like him. So he went on a procession in a car where they didn't have a roof. In America they have cars and they can take the roof down, and convertible. They don't have that in India. It's too hot. But so not everybody loved him, and someone shot him. And after that, they've been trying to figure out who shot him for the last 50 years. First the man shot him, then the man that shot him, someone else came and shot him. So it's a complicated thing, but everyone was so shocked that the President of the United States was shot. It also happened in India. Indira Gandhi, so many prime ministers were shot. Mahatma Gandhi also was murdered by his own countrymen. Even though he was so famous, so popular, still he was killed. So these things are going on according to person's karma, or anyway. So Prahlad Maharaj here is saying that the boy spends 20 years in childhood, then another 20 years is wasted in playing. Then another 20 years is spent in old age, invalidity. And this way, 40 years of one's life is wasted. But he doesn't talk about the middle. He will talk about that in another verse, coming up, next verse. In the middle, between childhood and old age, one spends his life as a householder, attached to family, children, wife, everything. In this way, one's life is wasted. It says in Srimad Bhagavatam, even if one follows all his Varnashram Dharma, but doesn't develop his love for Krishna, Shamaha eva hi kevalam, simply useless waste of time. And Lord Rishabdev told his sons that they should not waste their time. He had 100 sons. He told them they shouldn't waste their lives like the hogs and dogs that simply eat stool. We don't see that in America. We see that in India, a common sight. That the human form of life, Sri Sri Gauranitai, Krishna Balaram, Radha Shama Sundar, Vijay. Human form of life should not be wasted just for sense gratification. But the society, Prabhupada lectured on this verse in 1973, and he wrote this purport in 1976. So he didn't talk about the 100 years or about Lord Brahma in this verse 6 and verse 7, but we can understand how this in human society today, people are wasting their time. There are so many ways. First, Prahlad Maharaj says they sleep 12 hours. So half their life is finished simply by sleeping. And when you're sleeping, you forget you have a body, you forget everything. It's completely in the mode of ignorance. So nothing is gained by sleeping. And you lose 50 years of 100 years of your life. And people do all kinds of things to utilize their time. They watch television, they go to movies, now we have internet, nightclubs, going to sporting events, and people like to go hunting in the forest, kill animals, hunting and fishing. This way they waste their time. And also reading newspaper and all kinds of different things. But it's different for a devotee. So they're not like the materialists, they're not unaware that human life is special. There's 8,400,000 species of life, and only 400,000 are human species. And that 400,000 is including the demigods. But they're not all civilized human beings. So Prabhupada said, unless one follows the Varnashram Dharma, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra, that civilization, this is uncivilized. Civilization means there's some structure. So formerly the Brahmins would be the intelligent class and the mode of goodness. They would advise the kings and the leaders. And the Kshatriyas would rule the citizens. But Kshatriyas would rule the citizens, were responsible for the welfare of the citizens. When Lord Ramachandra played the role of a Kshatriya. He was in Treta Yuga, but he was such a good king, it seemed like Satya Yuga. And people didn't suffer, even if they didn't want to die, they didn't have to die untimely. So Lord Ramachandra set the example how a king should rule, and we have other examples, Prithu Maharaj, Maharaj Ambarish, Bharat Maharaj. These were saintly kings. Bhagavad-Gita says, Evam parampara praptam imam rajajo vidu. This science was spoken to saintly kings. But gradually as Kali Yuga progresses, kings became despotic, very cruel rulers and gave trouble to the people. So this system of government, kings has been abolished. So now we have the demoniac or democratic system of government, but Prabhupada called it demon crazy, because the leaders of these worlds, they're just taking big salary and not really interested in the welfare of the people. They're only interested in their own welfare, and they can't do anything good for the people, because the leaders are like they elect one tiger to be the leader, and then he steps down, and then they elect another lion to be the leader. So it's not any better, one person or another, because they're in the mode of ignorance and they don't know what the human business of human life. Etavidu Sarakati Hi Vishnu. They don't know that the life is meant for self-realization. They think life is simply meant for enjoying as much as possible, getting as much sense gratification as possible, and then at the end of life, everything is finished. So you don't have to practice any kind of self-realization or follow any principles. So they're simply eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So this is the two things here that Maharaj is talking about: the time factor, how people utilize their 100 years, and also how the time is wasted because people do not know the aim of life and how to utilize this human form of life. So, before we met with Srila Prabhupada, nobody in America knew how to utilize their human form of life, or that they were wasting their human form of life. The Prabhupada had to teach everything to his disciples, which was a difficult job, to turn hippies into happies. The there was the hippie movement, that the young people were rebelled against the government, didn't like the way things were going on. There was a war going on in Vietnam, so there was a movement in protesting the war and the government. So the so-called hippies, they wanted to separate themselves from the society. And they asked Srila Prabhupada, what's a hippie? He said, you know better than me, something extraordinary. So the young people, they were keeping long hair, not very clean, wanted to be free. But they couldn't be free, but it's also always under the control of the modes of nature. So these are the kind of people that Prabhupada had to deal with. So gradually he introduced his society, gradually he told them the 4 regulated principles: no eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. This is the first-class men, not fifth-class men. Prabhupada said he's trying to create a society of first-class men. So, devotees are now becoming mature. So, an advanced devotee, he does not waste his time. He spends 24 hours a day. Nectar Devotion says that the symptoms of an advanced devotee in ecstatic love, he doesn't waste his time. He utilizes his time 24 hours a day. And we saw that if you see the life of Bhakti-Vinod Thakur. He was a district magistrate, he had 13 children, he had family man, but still his whole day, 24 hours, he was Krishna conscious. Even though he was a district magistrate, he would do his service in 4 hours. Everyone else would take 8 hours. And then the rest of his time was engaged in chanting, bhajan, writing books. So he didn't have it. He didn't waste a moment. If you go to his house in Godrun in Navadvip, he had one small room where he'd go to chant his japa. It's because he didn't want to be distracted. So it's important that when we're chanting our japa, we do it with full concentration. You turn off the cell phone, any distraction, no distraction. Srinivasacharya, he also, when he chanted his rounds, he would never talk to anyone until he finished his rounds. So, and also, Srila Prabhupada, if anybody was Srila Prabhupada's servant, would testify to the fact that Srila Prabhupada never wasted any time. One time he was going to take rest in the afternoon. He said, now I'm going to waste my time. But he only slept 2 hours in the afternoon and 2 hours at night. And the rest of the time he was in service. He would sleep 2 hours at night, then he'd get up, chant japa, do his translation work, go for a morning walk, give Bhagavatam class, meet people, take a little prasadam, take a little rest. His schedule was always the same wherever he went. He traveled around the world 14 times in 12 years, but he never got jet lag. He didn't know what that was. Because his time, wherever he was, he simply went on with his schedule. Wherever he went, as soon as he got to another temple, whatever the time was there, he would do his whatever he did at that time. So he would regularly take his prasadam at his regular time. He would take rest at regular time. He would translate at regular time, chant his japa at regular time. All his time was completely filled up. He wasn't idle for a moment. And he didn't waste time. All his time was in Krishna consciousness. Even if they wanted the Prabhupada to rest, they took him to one place. He said, now you bring me some people so I can preach to them. He didn't want to be idle at any time. So this is a devotee. By his words, by his mind, by his body, by his words, by his mind, he's always thinking of Krishna. By his body, he's always offering obeisances. Raghunath Das Goswami offered obeisances 2,000 times to devotees, 1,000 times to Vishnu. And the 6 Goswamis, Acharya Varashascha, they conquered over eating and sleeping. So this is a sign of advanced devotee, that he reduces his eating and sleeping. He should only eat what is necessary to maintain body and soul. One time, Prahlad Maharaj met the Python man, and he was a little fat. So Prahlad Maharaj inquired from him why he was fat. In the purport, Prabhupada wrote that if a devotee becoming fat is not good for Krishna consciousness. Rupa Goswami said, easy living and Krishna consciousness go ill together. If someone's becoming fat, that means he's eating too much, he's trying to enjoy. Instead of reducing his eating, he's eating too much. This is one of the causes falling down, eating more than necessary. So, in Bhaktisiddhanta, he didn't like to see his fat disciples. He would beat their stomach with a stick. He saw a fat disciple. So this is the devotee, of course, we should eat enough. We shouldn't eat too little, but we shouldn't eat too much either. We should just eat the right amount to keep body and soul together so that we can perform our Krishna conscious activities. So this is a surrendered soul, one who's in ecstatic love. The first item, there's 9 items mentioned in Nectar Devotion. He does not like to be idle. 24 hours a day, he's in ecstatic love. With his words, he offers prayers. With his mind, he thinks of Krishna. With his body, he offers obeisances, other services, and not a moment wasted. And sometimes the devotee in ecstatic love will exhibit ecstatic symptoms, but usually he tries to conceal his ecstatic symptoms. But we saw that Srila Prabhupada, sometimes he exhibited ecstatic symptoms. One time he was giving class in Mayapur and he became silent. He actually went into samadhi, thinking of some pastime of Krishna or whatever. So the devotees didn't know what to do. They had kirtan for a while, and then Prabhupada came to his external consciousness. So we also see this in the life of Maharaj Ambarish. Savaya Namaha Krishna Paravindayo. By Chansi Vaikunta. That he engaged in all 9 processes of devotional service and was fully Krishna conscious 24 hours a day. So we can't help it. In childhood, we don't know what to do, what not to do. So when we start to grow up, we send the children to Gurukul. It's up to the parent to try to train their children in Krishna consciousness. So after 5 years old, they go to the Gurukul and they teach them how to become Krishna conscious. And then it's up to the individuals. Sometimes the children of devotees become devotees, sometimes they don't they leave Krishna consciousness for some time. But either case, the devotees in Vrindavan especially, we should try to see that we are always doing something. It's difficult when you have free time, you don't know what you should do. So you can listen to a Prabhupada lecture, you can read Prabhupada's books, you can come in the temple and do kirtan, but we shouldn't, sometimes we see devotees sitting outside just idle or chit-chatting, we call it dilly-dally, just wasting their time, not properly utilizing their time that they can use to do reading Prabhupada's books. How many people in this room have read all of Srila Prabhupada's books at least one time? Only one person. So there's no time, wasted time. You should read all of Prabhupada's books, not one time, but as many times as possible. Bhaktisiddhanta wanted his disciples to read Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat 108 times. And Prabhupada said, if you don't read my books and read all my purports, then you'll become lazy. And he said that the ashram was not for crazy, lazy fellows. So, but if you can't read for long periods of time, you can read for a few 15, 20 minutes every 3 or 4 times a day. Or you can get someone to come and read with you. That way you can take turns reading. Yesterday he said that the devotee should read Krishna book at night for 10 minutes. Why 10 minutes? You can read Krishna book at night for half an hour, 45 minutes. So, in either case, whatever, we should be mindful that I'm not wasting my time. And we don't like to waste our time. Everything, every moment. If you're traveling, then you should have your hand in your bead bag. You should have your your cell phone, your music, your player, so you can hear kirtans and lectures. So all our time is Krishna conscious in any situation. So this is the message here, that we only have 100 years, we have a short life. Life, time and tide waits for no man. And Sanatana Pandit says that even if you have $1 million, you can't buy back 1 minute. So we should not waste any of our time in any other business except Krishna conscious business. And of course there's no injunction in reading newspaper, but hearing the news, but that should also be minimized. In modern civilization, in Western countries, they have a book rack in the bathroom, and people sit in the bathroom and read something. But for devotees, we know that the bathroom's a dirty place. You go in, you do your business, get out as soon as possible. You don't idle, you don't stay there for any length of time. This is the habit people have. You sit in the bathroom for a long time. We should not be like that. So we should try to rise early in the morning, spend as little time as possible to maintain the body, and use all our time for chanting. Chaturmasha means we should try to chant more rounds every day. Try to minimize our eating every day. And try to increase our hearing every day. In this way, we'll try to follow in the footsteps of 6 Goswamis. They utilized their time. They were engaged 20 out of 24 hours, they were engaged 22 hours, sometimes less than that. Raghunath Das Goswami would only sleep 90 minutes a day. And he'd only eat 1 cup of chach every other day. But we can't follow that, but we understand the principle that we should eat as little as possible and do bhajan as much as possible. If someone can chant 64 rounds, then they should do that, 32 rounds, at least 16 rounds, but they should be attentive rounds, without offenses. So we'll gradually make advancement in Krishna consciousness. So Prahlad Maharaj is telling his friends how people waste their lives in childhood, boyhood, then in family life, old age, and finally they die. So this principle we should understand whatever ashram one is in, whether one's a brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas. Everyone should utilize body, mind, and words in the service of Krishna as much as possible. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.